Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier, the football podcast we bring you each and every day. Thought I'd jump on and do a quick little show here. Seems that there seems to be a little bit of anxiety building in some of the football clubs at the moment through this transfer window, where business hasn't been happening as quick as they want. And I noticed it's been building greatly this week with Manchester United fans. So I thought we'd jump on and take a look at that situation at the moment and see, is it valid, or is it just a fan base that's being a little bit impatient, or is there reason there for true concern and worry based on what's unfolding? Would you think, as a Man United fan at this stage, you would have had one or two signings in the door at this stage? Um, Obviously, Eric came in. Was officially unveiled on the 21st of April, but started about um, at the end of the season. Basically, came in. Ralph Rangnick moved on. Was supposed to move upstairs as a consultant, sort of advisor, but moved on and became the Austrian manager. But I mean, the real key questions that are being asked here as United fans, and let me know in the comments, is would you have expected signings to be in the door now? We're kind of 3 weeks roughly nearly into the window now, and Eric's about 4 weeks working at United at this stage. So, should you have expected signings in the door at this stage, and would it be reason for concern? Would you be worried at the level of time and that you are spending at the moment dealing with the young contract? Should that have been over the line at this stage? What about his ability to bring in players from Moyax? A lot of soundings coming out from there. We know there's plenty of restructuring to be done internally in terms of these signings and stuff like that. But we need to let's delve into some of this information. Let us know in the comments what you think. Are you getting a little bit anxious about the transfer window? Could it be an absolute disaster? Or do you see it going a little bit more successful? So let's start. As we know, 11 players were released from contracts, including some key players there: Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, Juan Mata, Matic, Lee Grant, Edson Cavani. These were kind of big names at the club. I think most United fans won't be too unhappy to see gone. Pogba really delivering very little. Cavani became an absolute joke at the club. Mata came in towards the end of the season and did okay for them. Matic was a prominent figure during Ralph's tenure in the last 6 months and did okay. Lee Grant was never in the situation. Don't know what he was doing there. And we know with Pogba, he was kind of like a charlatan, really, to be honest. Um, but on top of that, then you have players coming back as well, and there's information coming about them. Donny van de Beek, is he going to be able to come in and do something? Is Eric going to be able to get something out of him that Ollie couldn't see and Ralph couldn't see? And then we have Anthony Martial returning as well. And is he going to be able to do something with him, or is he going to have to move him on? Could you see him as an option in there at a time where they're probably looking as a goal scorer to go in there with Ronaldo? Because we know that Ronaldo, he's 37, so he's not going to be able to play every single game, although he's been immense last season with his return. Considering how poor United were playing and stuff like that, his return was unbelievable as well. Reports have been coming out that neither really have an appetite to go back in there. That Martial's very clear, his time at United is done, so they're going to have to move him on and hopefully create some money there that they can arm Eric with. There's also been talk about the budget as well, like on a daily basis. The amount of money available to Eric Ten Hag seems to be changing. So it's not too sure even what his budget is available. We know whatever budget he has available, if the De Jong deal goes through, it's going to be absolutely a sizable chunk of that. He'll be looking for a huge salary, and also Barca are going to be holding out for a huge transfer fee. There's no doubt about that, especially with news coming out today now that their financial position has changed and stuff like that. But they do want to move them on. Let me know how you feel about the De Jong deal. Is United spending too much time on that? Are they putting too much emphasis on it? Does this player actually want to come to United, or is he being forced out the door by Barcelona because they want to bring in key targets? Is he holding out, hoping that another club will come in that can offer him Champions League football and maybe a similar deal or a better deal? Who knows? We seen what happened with the Darwin Núñez project. United were in for Darwin Núñez, and when Liverpool came along, the decision was made. Could there be a situation there where De Jong is holding out for maybe a Man City or another club similar to that to come in from, and then he go, yeah, I fancy that straight away, and United could be left with egg on their face again. Um, And then we hear of other rumblings coming out. I mean, the stuff that we have to talk about really. Um, will the board deliver on its promises? Will the board actually give Eric Ten Hag what they promised him? And why is it taking so long for players to come in? We know that Louis Van Gaal has been potentially advising Yuri and Timber not to sign and stuff like that. He's been stalling on signing. I'm sure he's concerned. One of the things that came out was that he's concerned about playing time and stuff like that, especially looking into a World Cup year and stuff like that. But I think he would get the playing time that he wants at Man United, and I find that hard that that's a decision that he's making on the basis of that. I mean, if you're a decent midfield, or sorry, if you're a decent defender and you're going in there, surely to God you're going to go in there up against the likes of Maguire, you're going to be in there with Varane, Lindelof, stuff like that. We know that potentially Phil Jones is moving on. We know potentially that Eric Boye is moving on. They wouldn't really come in terms of challenging if you're Yuri and Timber coming in. So definitely you should be making that move. So why isn't he making that move? And what's holding him back? Obviously, with Ajax, there's Champions League football and stuff like that. That's obviously a big lure for a lad, especially in a World Cup year as well, to be playing football at the highest level. But obviously, his exposure into the Premier League, which is the biggest league in the world as well, would be beneficial as well. But it's just a strange one that it hasn't come off. Also, we're hearing reports that Daily Blind has been advising teammates not to move to Man United. Um, Again, which is a strange one, you know what I mean? It's just he did okay there, you know. Um, Missing out on Darwin Nunes, which is one of their key targets as well, must have been quite a setback. Um, and as we spoke about Frankie de Jong, it just seems to be taking forever. It's like they're cap in hand, absolutely begging this guy to come to the club. Do you believe he's at that level where you should be putting this amount of time in, or should you have moved on? We see other midfielders becoming available. Yves Bissouma going to Spurs for 25 million would have fitted in nicely at Man United. Absolutely incredible player. We know that Yuri Tillemans is available. There's a number of key targets out there that are available that Man United could switch to, but just hasn't happened. Um, so where are the key areas that United need to be working on? Well, certainly up front, they need to figure out what's going to happen there and what way they want to play. Do they need to bring in another front man to help out and take the burden off Ronaldo of what he has to do there? Another goal scorer. Obviously with Edson Cavani moving on, Anthony Marshall up in the air, Mason Greenwood. There's going to be more information coming out this week where he has a bail hearing at the end of next week, and so that should bring more clarity on that situation. Um, yeah, and then you have Rashford as well, so out of form and stuff like that. So they're going to have to figure out what they want to do with their front line, and do they need to bring in a front man? There's no secret about the midfield. There's hardly a situation where Man United go into next season with Scott McTominay and Fred as their midfield. That would be a scary prospect and certainly ratchet up the anxiety in any Man United fan base. So that midfielder has to come in. Is Frankie de Jong that guy, or should they be looking at other targets to bring in as well? He's going to cost them quite the amount of money, and maybe there might be other solutions out there. And then at the back, as we mentioned at the back, we've already mentioned Yuri and Timber, who was one of their key targets and stuff like that. If he doesn't come in, then who else should they be looking for? Surely to God, you can't see a situation where they're going into a back line there with Lindelof, Maguire, Varane, Boy, Jones. We know that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is potentially moving on. We don't know what the situation is with Delo. We know that the jury is out on Tellez. We're not too sure what Shaw wants to do. So again, at the back there, things need to be looked at. We also know information coming out about Dean Henderson at the moment. So we know that David De Gea is in there. He's going to be number one. Had an outstanding season last season. But again, the team just couldn't match his performance or Ronaldo's performance in other key areas on the pitch. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there in terms of goalkeeping as well. They may have to bring someone in. We know Lee Grant has moved on as well. But it's a concerning time at Man United. The clock is ticking. We're about 2 weeks away from the start of pre-season. No one has come in yet. No doubt they're working on a number of deals. And obviously, this picture can change very quickly within a couple of days. All it takes is one or two signings to come in and things look a little bit better. But at the moment, you can understand the anxiety in the fan base. in relation to nothing happening at the moment, and such a mammoth task. This is not a task or a rebuild that's going to happen within one window, probably not even two windows, and maybe not even three windows, in terms of what has to be done at the club. But certainly it's a monstrous task for Eric Ten Hag. Certainly the fan base would have expected them to at least have landed at this stage, I would imagine. Maybe one or two Ajax players. I know they're looking at Anthony as well, Timber, to name a few. I'm sure the United fan base would have thought after 3 weeks in the window and potentially 4 weeks of Eric being there that he would have at least landed one or two targets at this stage. They're also looking at Ericsson as well, who's available on a free. I don't know why they're not moving to push on that. Maybe it's a project he doesn't want to be involved in. Maybe he's holding out for maybe a Spurs or someone like that to come in from. Who knows? He said he wanted to play at a higher level and try and win some silverware, which is fair enough after the year he had at Brentford. And hats off to Brentford for taking the risk on bringing him back and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, let us know in the comments, United fans. Let us know what you think. Are you getting concerned about this transfer window that there hasn't been movement? Should you be getting anxious? Do you see a situation where you're going to start next season with a similar squad? Surely players are going to come through the door. Surely after finishing 30 points off Man City, something has to be done. Surely if you want to fight this season for a top four space, or a top four spot, with the work that Spurs is doing in the market, with the work that potentially Chelsea will do in the market, are you blocking yourself out there from having any chance of reaching the top four? Will remain to be seen. Until next time, let us know your thoughts in the comments. This is the upper tier. We're looking at the Man United fan base with a little bit of anxiety at the moment in relation to the transfer window. So let us know your comments. If you want to contact the show, the upper tier podcast at gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and audio versions of the show, as always, out there on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Till next time, cheers.